Welcome back to the video series of creating a command line Elasticsearch client. In the last video, we created a Java executable that we can run via the command line, and we got hello world. This is going to be intended to run two ways. One is like this. It'll put you in interaction mode where you can then type commands repeatedly, or you can run it as a one-off, so command, subcommand. You could run it like that. So we need to set up getting the input out of from the user when it's run. So if we look at our main class here, we're going to create a new class that's going to handle all this. And that new class is going to be called command processor. Not that command processor, but we're going to make our own. And it's going to take in args. And if there's any exceptions that are thrown, we're just going to print out the exception and then exit. That way, anything bad happens, anything goes wrong, you could always just run the program again. So here we do not have a command processor, so let's go add it. Command processor package. And this is going to take in our string of args. So because we're going to run this program two different ways, we have to handle this input two different ways. So we're going to check if the args, which means there's command line options, if those are greater than 0, then we're going to run the command and exit. And else, we're going to go into interactive mode and continue to read and process commands. So in here we need to take our args and join them together. So we have a string, we'll use a string joiner. And our delimiter is going to be a space. So we need to loop through our args. So for arg of args, joiner dot add our arg. Now for right now, we're just going to print out our command line that the person typed in. So this would be joiner.toString. Still getting used to NeoVim. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Get the args on the command line, or on the Unix command line, string them together, run the command, and we're done. Now, to continuously run commands based on what's typed in, we're going to use a class called a scanner, and this is used to grab data from different sources, input streams. So we're gonna use the system.in as our input stream. So that is going to be the interaction from the console, and we're going to print a prompt looking like thing. So we're just going to use the bracket. So while there's data, as next line. So while there's more lines of input, string line is equal to scanner dot as next line. and then we're just going to print out that command, our line, and then we're going to print out the prompt again. So let's see how this looks. I've got another screen here to go ahead and build this. It says Boolean cannot be converted to string. Line 19. What did I do? Oh, not has line. Actually, just next line. Okay, let's see if it works. This is a test. Hey, there's our command. This is another test. All right. Now, we don't have a way to quit yet, so we're going to have to build that in later. The other way is this is another command. So you can see how we can run our command line utility passing in a bunch of stuff, and it's going to run that. All right, here we are back, and I'm going to talk about the different commands that we are going to create. So first off is what I call a config command, because we're going to need to be able to configure our client on which server to connect to and maybe some other options. There is, inside of a cluster, there's this notion of snapshots, where we can take a snapshot of a index, take a backup of it, or restore. We have the cluster itself, so there's properties about the cluster that we potentially are going to want to view or change. There's repositories, and those are where we are able to retrieve and create snapshots. Indexes have aliases, and so we have an alias, and then of course the index itself. Now underneath these commands, config is going to have set, load. We may want to load a config from a file. We want to save a config to a file. Snapshot, we want to list. We want to delete. We want to create. For a cluster, we may want to have a specific config for the cluster, and underneath there we may have a set and a get for particular properties. For repo, we want to be able to create a repo. We want to delete a repo. Delete. We want to be able to list repos. Aliases, again, we want to create alias on an index. We want to remove an alias off of an index. Maybe we want to list. You kind of get the idea here. These commands are somewhat repetitive. Here's another list. Maybe we want to get some info on the index. One thing that I find very handy is to switch alias. So if index has an alias, you may want to switch it, and potentially we want to delete an index. So these are just some initial commands, and so we need to, in the next video, we are going to create a parser that is going to start reading these commands from the data that's typed in and turning them into Java objects. And we're going to do that with a parser called Antler. It's a Java-based parser. You create a grammar, and the grammar is used to parse text. And so that is where we're going to go next. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next video where we implement Antler into our project.